Thanks for joining me for another Depraved and Debaucherous King of Podcasts here with you. And I have a good thing, kingofpodcasts.com, which is the main website of the King of Podcasts radio network. And ddradio.live is where you find this show, where you can go ahead and catch all past episodes. We're going to talk about sugar daddy scams and stereotypes because they're getting sorted out. We're starting to hear some of this. Now, I did not bring JL on tonight for Confessions of a Sugar Daddy because what I'm going to talk about tonight was already discussed in the very first installment of Confessions of a Sugar Daddy, scams. And tonight, I have several stories that have popped up in my queue, and I figured I should go and bring them up and kind of go through the gamut of the various scams that are going right now in sugar dating that are very common. But of course, these news sources, they, don't really know much about much, but I think it was important to go and point some of these out. So we're going to talk about first a story. Actually, I'm doing a thing right now with the show where I'm going to record it through a different way so I can also play audio. And right now I want to go and play audio from WAFB, and this is in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, the home of LSU, the college, because a girl apparently said she lost $3,000 because of her so-called sugar daddy. Here's what it is.
A woman at LSU thought she was going to get a payout from a man she calls her sugar daddy, but now the police are involved and somebody's wiped out her bank account. Our lead investigator, Scotty Hunter, explains how this sugar daddy shakedown went down.
You can file this one under the just don't do it category. LSU police now investigating after a woman on campus got her bank accounts cleaned out by a person she describes as her sugar daddy.
It's not a shock to us. We see these things all the time, unfortunately.
Here's how it all went down. Back on March 6th, the woman noticed her bank account was overdrafted. It turns out her sugar daddy asked for her bank account information, saying they were going to send her some money. So
now we got to stop right there. That's a common thing. When you, and I especially can say, and JL's talked about this, he said it on the program about how when women first get onto a sugar daddy site, the idea is they will get caught up on the scams. And the most common scam is the bank account. Well, let me go ahead and send you this money and you send it back to me. Or let me get your checking account, your routing number, and they find a way to go ahead and take money out. Well, first they send money only to take the money back and then some. Let's move along.
So she sent a screenshot of her checking deposit, then later sent them all of her information. The sugar daddy then went to work stealing $3,000 out of her account. Carmen Million with the Better Business Bureau says even if you willingly hand over your personal information, this is still considered a case of identity theft.
You should not ever give out personal information to somebody that you truly don't know.
So the bottom line is you give them one of those services that you can get money and there's no information being brought back. Cash App, Venmo, PayPal, Western Union, one of those things. But you also don't want to make it where you're sending out, and you get the story about, and JL talked about this too, where you're taking from one account and then if the person says, oh, I didn't get it yet, can you send it here? Right? Because most of all, any sugar baby should not be sending money out to a sugar daddy. Like that is a very novice thing to do, but the Better Business Bureau lady here, Carmen Million, funny name, she's actually telling the right thing.
Or you're not familiar with. And of course, there's so many things that this person could have done to protect themselves.
In a world of mobile banking, Million tells me your account numbers are insanely valuable. And if you give them away willingly, there's not much that can be done to recover the money.
And I'll tell you this too. I don't use Zelle for a reason because I got scammed with somebody else. And this is when I didn't even have Zelle being used. But what was interesting was when I got scammed a couple of years ago, interesting thing was is that because I'm an Uber driver part-time, and I cited to one of those tort lawsuits where I did get a significant amount of money, which happened to be the amount of money I got scammed from. And it was while I was on Uber. I actually put that on my TikTok feed talking about that a couple of years ago. But I'll tell you this. When you have this going on here, you don't use the bank. You keep the bank out of everything. Especially if you have money in it. Because I'll tell you, I'm surprised that with some of these fake sugar daddies, the scams that are being pulled, when they realize they have a girl that actually has money in the bank. Because a lot of times I would imagine if they try to do that, they're going to get an overdraft, or they're not going to be able to go and pull any money at all because the girl legitimately doesn't have any money at all. I just don't know how that works, but it did. And for a college girl, that's a lot of money. For me, that's a lot of money. So I look at that and I'm saying, man, it's unfortunate, but you don't use Zelle. And I don't use Zelle for anything, to be honest. Venmo, PayPal, Cash App for any transactions like that. And if I got to do MoneyGram or Western Union, fine. But I won't use anything else. That's why Cash App is so popular. And that's why we feel bad that the owner of Cash App got killed this past weekend or so? Bob Lee? Unfortunate. Rest in peace, my friend. Here's the rest of the story.
The problem is, even if they figure out who it is and they pin this person down, she's probably not going to get her money back. This person may face charges, but that still doesn't mean she's going to get her money back. And that's what we tell people. It's a lesson.
Obviously, that $3,000 is gone, but when you have that much information about a person, you can easily open up credit cards, you can get loans, anything.
Absolutely. Once they have that information, your life is accessible to them. So what you should do, especially, I don't know where she put it out there, but especially if it's out there on the internet, you want to make sure that you protect yourself. She may have to put a freeze on her credit. She needs to get with her bank to make sure they close the account. But even if she reopens another account, if they have her Social Security number, her mother's maiden name and date of birth, all of that personal information, they could still get into an account that she opens up. So she...
By the way, doesn't think much on the identity theft route. It is identity theft, but it's like Carmen's saying, you're not getting that money back. You're never going to get it retrieved. It's gone. You're just going to have to make it back. Like I had to do. Like everybody else has to do. So you got to be careful of that. But this is a very rare case. I'm going to tell you this too. There might be girls that get caught up on this because they're very early on. They need to be told, or they need to learn first off the bat, these kind of things are going to happen. And if they're going to, and obviously these sites, you're going to see new profiles on the website. And there are ways, obviously, that some of these websites, they show you the newest profiles first, which are the ones that are going to get targeted by these fake sugar daddies. They're not fake sugar daddies in terms of they're actually sugar daddies that are just fake. No, what they actually are, they're perpetrators. They're criminals that are trying to get something. They're on the site spending the money, which is why, depending on the site that you're on, seeking arrangements is the culprit for the most. You hear that scam the most happening there. But the only thing, and JL said this specifically, that's why I bring him back. He said it. You should never have to give anything of money or any kind of currency to that sugar daddy. You're not supposed to give anything, not the access to where your money goes. Okay? You don't give him the access. You don't give him or her, because we don't know who the person is on the other line. You don't give your bank information. You don't give credit card information. You want to give a first and last name? That's about as much as you give. But that and the Social Security number can do a lot. I'll tell you that. So that's the part that is very well said there. So now we know what the story is. And moving along, let's get into another story. This is from a police blotter just out of suburban Cleveland. And story says that a suspicious theft where on February 4th, a resident came to the police station regarding a possible theft. The office talked to the woman and her dad. Resident said she was contacted by a man who went by the name of Mark on a dating website. That's a sugar daddy. And they specifically put it down. Sugar babies get suspicious when sugar daddy asks her to do online banking. But that's all we got on that. Not a lot of press on this, by the way. Let me just put that out there too. Now, another story. A fake sugar daddy scams victim for bank information on TikTok. So it doesn't have to be on a sugar daddy site. It could be on social media. Okay? Sugar relationships are also possibly done through Snapchat, through all the major dating sites, Bumble, Hinge, all those. Because some women that are on there, they might also be looking to go ahead and get onto meeting someone. Like they might want to meet someone, and they know there are a lot of women that are looking for money right now and might be privy to being a sugar baby. Plus, if they think they're going to make money off of it and they're kind of naive to the whole deal, then they will try to do that. Another story from Tioga County in Pennsylvania, Richmond Township. An investigation of a scam incident where a person pretended to be a sugar daddy and scammed the woman out of money. And Pennsylvania State Police said troopers were informed about a reported theft when a 28-year-old victim from Mansfield met an unknown person on TikTok. The victim was scammed into giving her bank account information under the impression that the scammer would be her sugar daddy. And the victim told investigators she received fraudulent checks, deposited funds into her Cash App account to transfer them into a Bitcoin wallet provided by the scammer. This is elaborate. This is too much. You shouldn't have to go through this kind of thing at all, ladies. If you're going to do this, I'm not judging or blaming you. This is on you. If you want to do this, this is fine. But I'm telling you, this right here, that's a rabbit hole. That wild goose chase right there is no good. And these poor girls are getting caught in it. So I can't tell you anything more than just saying, be careful, beware. Because when you're going to do this. Let me read that last part one more time. The victim told investigators she received fraudulent checks. She deposited funds into her Cash App account. So look, the bad checks that went into the account, then that money was taken out of her account after the checks were in. And then the funds of those checks that were bad went into her Cash App account, and then she transferred them to a Bitcoin wallet that the scammer gave. This is too much. But the poor girl, 28-year-old victim, getting this right here, you got to be careful. Now, that's the scam part. Now, the other thing, too, is the stereotype. Because what you want to find out, and this story from Women's Fitness magazine actually puts out a story that, I'll give them some credit, they wanted to go and identify what you should know about a sugar daddy relationship. And also identifying who the sugar daddies are. And this is not a bad story that kind of goes a little bit comprehensive. They're not, I want to debunk a couple of things, but let's go through it. First off, sugar daddies do not necessarily seek sex. Wrong. That's the first thing they try to say. They don't seek sex. Now, Women's Fitness magazine, are you trying to encourage sugar dating? Why would you say that? Okay, well, let's just take it like this. Sex may be a component of the relationship, but for many sugar daddies, having someone to talk to and spend time is more important. While they simply get a girlfriend, they may have an attraction to younger women who typically ignore them, or their life may be so hectic they don't have time to pursue a traditional relationship. Sugar daddies could also need to have someone to take them to parties and other social occasions. Well, that's escorting. Part of the whole deal here. Sex can become part of the arrangement, but isn't necessarily the major focus. Now, I think there are definitely some guys that subscribe to that, but I don't think that, I mean, what's the value for the guy? Why would he spend the allowance on her? What would it benefit him? Like any practical, reasonable guy that wants to do this thing, he expects something in return. He's just not doing it for the goodness of his heart. He's not some Daddy Warbucks, okay? He's not. You are not Annie, ladies. You are not Vivian Ward, ladies. He is not Edward Lewis. Pretty Woman reference, okay? That's what it is. That's how it works. You are no different. So the bottom line is, assume sex. JL said that. And he's one, okay? Not all sugar daddies are in their 40s. Interesting. So sugar daddies can range in age from the 20s to the 40s. They're often older than the ladies they choose to have. Sugar daddies like sugar daddies come in all ages. Some sugar daddies like older ladies and searching for a lady who can give all the security of a mother relationship. But it does go the other way around. The younger guys want the older, cougar type sugar babies, because that's also where that same dynamic, what the guys are paying for access to are the women that are more desirable to them than what they would get if they just were not traditionally dating. They're going against the grain. The money is the conduit. That's what connects. So if JL wants to meet some girl that is younger, 18, 19, 20, 22, 23, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, between 18 and 30, which is an ideal age where that's the most desirable women are at the most desirable ages. With the idea that they'll appreciate a man that gives some money to them. And by the way, there are sugar mamas. Let's not dispute that either. But the most of the idea is, yes, it's usually somebody that's already made something of themselves, made some money, and they're just trying to go ahead and use this wherewithal to get a woman that they wouldn't normally be able to desire. That's true. They're not wrong about that. Okay, if sex is evolved, sugar daddies will pay extra. The amount is determined by the nature of the relationship. The price will be lesser if the sugar baby is really expected to attend an event. If she's expected more, he will pay more if he's expected to have sex. Bigger the cost, the kinkier the sex demanded. So you're saying the sugar baby is a prostitute. That is, and see, women's fitness, that's what they got wrong. They're trying to make it that sugar babies on here are escorts. They're prostitutes, glorified prostitutes. Some are, but some are really not being that. And more than not, some of these sugar babies want to be virtual. You do not want to meet in person, which is what all these websites are all about. There are plenty of women that want to do things where they'll do things to let a guy who's simping, whether it's videos, whether it's pictures, whether it's other things they can get from them, video chats, all these kind of things. But the in-person and the actual visits of flying a girl in, whatever, that's more money to it. But if the guy's already getting to that point, JL even said it, she's going to want a girl that's going to be appreciative of what he's doing for her. So trying to say there's some extra cost? No. At least what he's saying, no. Sugar babies are not becoming wealthy because of their sugar daddy. This is not a bad point. Other than money, sugar daddies make gift out clothing, shoes, cosmetics, or handbags. Trips are paid for, but not all sugar babies go on vacation. Correct. But the other thing that they're not saying in the story is that these sugar babies, some of them they're just going to take the money and splurge it. They're not worried about taking the money and using it for something important. But there are quite a few using it for college payments, using it for bills, using it for car payments, using it for groceries, for phone bills. I can't tell you how many girls that Jill's told me about, or that I've talked to, that talk about their iPhones being broken and they need somebody to fix it, or get their phone bill paid, or get things for their baby, whatever it might be. A lot of single moms that are sugar babies. Now, into the story, they say that if you're going to do this, women, ladies, you need to make sure to put some money away. It's like you're going to the casino. You're winning a bet. You put money on, a number, and the craps wheel gave you money. You need to put a few chips in your purse. Just saying. That money's not going to keep going like that. You're not going to keep getting winning hands. Because these ranges are not always long. They usually end quick. They're not always very long. The arrangements are short. So keep that in mind. Getting the proper sugar daddy isn't simple. Finding the proper relationship might take months or even years. First, you have to discover someone that is real, actually has the money he has. Some males, sugar daddies are males who overstate or lie about the money they have and are able to supply. Next, you must select one who shares your expectations, and they recommend seeking arrangements. Oh, so they're giving seeking arrangements a play here. Wonder how that works out. There are other sites, by the way, if you want to seek that out, okay? There are Sugar Daddy with a D-I-E at the end, sugarbabies.co. There is Sugar Book. There's a bunch of them. Sugar Daddy for Me, I think, or Sugar Daddy Me, Sugar Daddy for Me. A bunch of those are out there. Some sugar daddies seek long-term connections. Not all of them are married men and cheat on their spouse. This is true. And sure, maybe there's a desire of a long-term relationship that's also monogamous, but remember, with some of those that are looking long-term connections, they don't want the sugar relationship to continue. They'll use that as the way to draw in a woman with that. But then they just become a girlfriend or a wife that is being spoiled and supported. But it takes away, there's no more of the allowance kind of thing, or maybe there is something, but it's a normalized type of feel to it. That could be where they go to, but sometimes. Both sugar daddies and sugar babies frequently conceal their identity. And relationships have a high risk of fraud and theft. Those both sides are typically cautious. Sugar daddies do not usually make payments online. Well, if you're doing PayPal, Cash App, Venmo, and you can change your name, that's what you do. But sugar daddies don't necessarily remember to go ahead and change the names on there. They should also use usernames on those sites as well. Like if you're doing PayPal, you have to actually put a proper name in there. For Venmo, in some cases, you can just put you'll have your name in there, but sometimes a sugar daddy will just go and take that and they'll be able to find information off of your name just from the Cash App, Venmo, or PayPal if you're not paying attention. And by the way, a little trick, they can also find out from your phone number. They can go to a website that actually properly might have your number listed publicly, and they might find your name, and they could look up your social media and find out a lot about you. I'm just warning you. You must be prepared to go away as a sugar baby. So there's moments you might not just trust a possible sugar daddy. He says something makes you feel uneasy, makes you do things you don't want to do, or say something like, I'll pay you from my bank account when I get home. Okay, we go back to square one. The thing is, this is an important point that they need to bring up here. When money is vital to you, your voice becomes less important. You do things you would never do otherwise. When he sees that you're prepared to bend, you risk being asked to do more things. Always be prepared to leave. Because remember, even sugar daddies can be narcissists. They can also be manipulative if they can do it. I'm not denying that. It's true. So keep that all in mind. That's actually, it was a good article to kind of go through and really just have an understanding. So they're not wrong about it. But there's some stereotypes that are put in there that are wrong, and some things that are misleading that they said, but they tried at least a good attempt. I'll give them that. But that's why yours truly is here to go ahead and take care of stories like that to make sure that you're not caught up in it. 2 more stories I want to bring up before we wrap things up. 6 ways you unintentionally tell him you're not interested. So if you're trying to just date, you're not sugar daddies, but maybe if you're not interested, sugar babies, you might want to listen to this. From your tango, here are the 6 things. Analyzing whether he likes you. So, is it going to do much towards sparking a romance or a connection? The only way you can feel attraction or connection is in the present moment. So, analyzing whether he likes you. The 6 ways you unintentionally tell him you're not interested. Number 2, thinking of what you're going to say next. When you're thinking about what you're going to say the next opportunity, you miss out on small moments of connection. It's like a radio interview. If you're not paying attention to the radio interview and you're the host, you're not paying attention to something that might be said that might be important to you later or right then. You need to pay attention. It's an old radio trick. Worrying if he thinks you're attractive. You know what? I disagree on this part because I think some women might feel a little bit naive, might feel a little bit submissive, and they might feel the insecure, but they want to have that there. Like, I think a reasonable amount of insecurity and a little bit need for validation, I think guys jump on that. And nice guys will jump on that. But then when you find that out, you need to make sure he's not so nice that he's not real, that he's being legitimate and being sincere and genuine. Trying to get something from him. Right. So this is what, now, if you are not labeling the fact that you were a sugar baby looking for money or that you're looking for pay for play, and then you start asking for things from that guy, trying to get something from him isn't going to feel good. You'll be seen more as a means to an end, an actual person you can connect with, that he can connect with. Number 5, pretend to always be happy around him. Correct. Not everyone is always going to be happy. So when somebody acts like that, that's the nice guy problem too. That's that nice guy syndrome as well. They're going to try to make it where you're always the reason that somebody makes a very happy day, which, it's not possible. Number 6, not speaking your mind. Well, some women like a man, they simply tend to agree with everything he says. Right, because you're not going to show your hand. You feel like you can't trust, so that's why you're not going to say anything, or you're not going to enter into the conversation. You're not actually going to retort. You're not going to reply back with something actually like, there's a thing where they talk about when it comes to conversation and networking, that the equal amount of talking the one person does is the equal amount you should be doing, kind of balancing it out. And actually, honestly, balanced conversation. So keep that in mind too. Not just to fill the words with their words, fill the amount of words with your own amount of words. They have to be something that actually is you showing that you have your own personality, your own individual self. Right. Now, how about signs you're emotionally ready for a relationship? This is from glam.com. You enjoy your solitude, they say, is number one. You have a strong network of platonic friends. You're excited to share your life with someone. And you've already experienced the freedom of living alone. And you've been single for an adequate amount of time. You no longer desire your ex. You no longer harbor anger towards your ex. You solidified your relationship standards. And you can provide what you expect someone else to provide. This is wrong. You might be emotionally ready, but by this point, based on what this story is saying right here, you're saying then you're emotionally ready, but you're also just ready to stay single. You enjoy your solitude. So women staying single, this is the modern woman playbook right here. A strong network of platonic friends, right? Friends that you're going to do things for you, you do nothing for them, and there's nothing romantic about it. Friend zone. You share excited to share life with someone. I don't know about excited. Yeah, share your life. Meanwhile, taking that partner for what they have and just hogging up the space, that's not good. Experience the freedom of living alone. I mean, if you live alone and you feel the freedom of it and you like it, you're not going to go and have somebody just come right in. And maybe never now these days. Being single for a adequate amount of time. Well, the thing is, when you stop going out dating, it's not like you're going back on a bike. Listen, even me years later trying to date is difficult. If you're older or you've been away from the dating scene, it's not the same going back. Listen to people that have gotten divorced after a long time of courtship and a long time of marriage. No. Then they talk about your ex. Like you can't be angry about him and you can't, or her, and you can't desire him or her. And then they say your relationship standards. Well, it doesn't matter your standards because you never know what your standards are until you meet the person you're with. You still got to find somebody that you can put together. And then they talk about providing what you'd expect someone else to provide. No. As we said, men don't want that. We don't want a woman that can provide. And when I think about providing, they're trying to say that if you're earning a 6-figure income, living alone in a nice place, drive a nice car, have a solid network of friends, enjoy a handful of pleasant hobbies, the partners you date need to be able to successfully meet where you're at. Yeah, they need to be at the same level or more. All right? If the partners are no longer, or you're meeting are nowhere near your tax bracket, still live with their parents, don't have a working vehicle, don't have any friends to hang out with, can't think of any hobbies to get busy with, they're probably aren't the right match to you. Yep. And there you have it. Modern women being told you're emotionally ready for a relationship. But what you're doing is, glam.com, you're setting women up to find the unicorn. The 1% of men that are out there that might actually be interested. But you know what? If these women are all here, no. These women are not going to be getting a relationship. They might be emotionally ready, but they're not going to get a relationship. They're just not. They also say you're comfortable with compromises and you're not annoyed when potential suitors approach you. Well, somewhat of that. And also you weren't willing to settle for situationships or lackluster connections. You're actively manifesting a partner. So what, affirmations? Interesting. Manifesting a partner. Interesting. And you're willing to wait patiently for the right relationship. Yeah, plenty of fish in the sea, right? And you've mastered emotional maturity, huh? And you assume your relationship will have a positive outcome. Instead of jealousy, you're happy seeing other people in love. And the idea of putting yourself out there excites you. You have a deep-rooted instinctual feeling that you're ready. This is all partly bullshit. Okay? Women, do what you want to do. Do not listen to this glam.com story. Let me tell you what you do. Uncle King of Podcasts here. Do what you want. And remember, part of that means you get to be a little depraved and debaucherous.